Okay, awesome. So I'm super excited because we have a special guest, as I mentioned to all of you, Suzanne Muir from the Spark Women Network Entrepreneur Group on Facebook. So please go join her group. There's a link in the description there. Suzanne is amazing. She's a consultant. She's a published children's author. She's had multiple businesses. She's owned a kickboxing gym, which is crazy. I want to hear about that.
And I don't kickbox.
And you don't kickbox. Oh my gosh.
No.
Crazy. And she's going to talk to us about how to assess risk versus benefit, how to remove fear, and how to start taking action, which I love that topic. I'm super excited to hear from you, Suzanne. Thank you so very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited about your group.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us about your background. I want to hear, how did you eventually become the owner of a kickboxing gym?
Oh yeah, it's a long story. So, I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur since I was a teenager, to be honest. My very first entrepreneurial kind of gig was I was a lifeguard at a local townhouse pool.
Okay.
And I noticed that all the kids were not taking swimming lessons at the public pool next door. And a lot of them didn't really know how to swim. And when I started asking the moms, they were like, well, the lessons are really expensive there. For these people swimming lessons.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to undercut the public pool and I'm going to teach all these kids how to swim.
Oh no. Okay.
So I had 40 kids that summer. I taught them how to swim.
Oh my gosh. 40?
Yeah, I got permission from a lifeguarding company. They were like, well, it's your risk. Like, if anything happens, you're bringing them in on your own time. We're not covering you for insurance. My dad got me a little insurance policy so that I'd be covered. And then I just basically taught them all how to swim. And then I was hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much more fun than, working for people. So then I started taking piano lessons. I taught piano all through high school, and I actually funded all my university with my piano lessons. And I did eventually go on to become a teacher, an official teacher. But I always had that entrepreneurial kind of spark. I wanted to do things on my own. I like having my own ideas, even if they fail. Like, I've run a couple little ventures that totally failed, but I don't care. I keep going. I just love it so much.
That's awesome.
And every time you try something, maybe it doesn't work out the first time, but instead of getting discouraged, I would just be like, oh, okay, so that's how I have to do it.
Yes, I can totally relate to that. I was the same way when I was a child, always thinking about, the entrepreneurial way of doing things and how can I start a little business here and a lemonade stand over there and, that sort of thing. And your first idea is not always the best, but definitely try again.
Yeah. And so then I ended up running a kickboxing gym because my ex-husband was a professional kickboxer.
Okay. So that makes
Although I do not kickbox at all. And I'm totally I didn't even know the lingo when we first started. I mean, I only know what he told me, right? But he had this idea, let's start an actual gym and let's start an organization, kind of an umbrella group to help other kickboxing gyms, regulate their referees, their officials and all that kind of stuff. So I jumped into that business with him full force, and we were able to grow it to quite a sizable organization nationwide up here in Canada, as well as running our own local programming. And we were eventually able to buy our own commercial building, which is another kind of fun story I'll tell you later when we talk about risk management, because that was a big step to buy our own commercial building. Yeah. And, all these things, I mean, a lot of people would just be like, oh my goodness, just the process of trying to get, the money to buy a commercial building. It sounds really scary,
very daunting.
A lot of people would just be like, that is a huge step. I'm not going to take that step. And in fact, even my husband at the time, he was sort of like, are you sure we should be doing this? But I believed so much in the product that we were delivering, and I knew it was going to be successful. So I was willing to take that risk. And so I got right into, running a kickboxing gym, which I never, ever thought I would. And actually, I never, ever did kickbox. But I loved running the business side of it,
Yeah. That's so awesome. And I'm excited to hear how your mindset was during that time of assessing the risk and should we go for it? Should we not go for it? How fear kind of crept in there, which I'm sure at one point maybe it did, and how you really dealt with that.
Well, we had a couple things going for us at the time. So first of all, we had established the business in a rental location. So we had been renting for about 5 or 6, maybe almost 7 years. And we had established quite a good business, right? So we knew our cash flow. We knew our assets. We also knew our debts. Like we were still in debt actually, you know, from building the first gym. That's a whole other story too. So, you know, when we first started out building this gym, we couldn't go apply. We had a big mortgage on a home, but you know, back then this was around 2005, 4, I guess. And the rate or the values of homes kept going up and up and up. And so we were thinking, okay, we should be okay. You know, we've got enough equity in the house, I guess, as a fallback. If we really had to, we would, you know, use it, right? Some people are not okay with that. Some people can't sleep at night thinking like, oh, I might lose my house. But we both thought about it and we're like, no, this is a risk for sure. But if we were
you cut out, Suzanne. Oh, you're back. Okay.
Oh, I'm back. So we thought, oh, if we lose the house, well, you know what? We're okay with that. I can live in an apartment. We could start over, you know, like you have to know what your comfort level is.
Your limits. Yeah.
And for us, we were like, the benefit that we're going to get from taking this on outweighs that fear of like, oh, I could end up living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 children, you know? So we actually, what happened was we went for it. We borrowed some money and we had some money saved up and we started, you know, renovating our rental location. And then our contractor quit mid renovations.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll never forget. It was like the middle of winter. It was around like January. We had a March opening deadline. We knew if we didn't open and start getting income by March, we were going to be sunk. And I remember just thinking like, okay, something's got to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to happen. Literally, that was back in the day where they were handing out credit like candy. I opened my mailbox and I had 2 credit card offers for up to like 50,000 Canadian dollars. And because the new contractor who came on, of course, was charging us like triple to finish the job. And we were stuck, right? We had to finish this job and we had to find the money. Couldn't go to a bank for a loan, had no established like income from this business. Credit card offers for a year, you know, and then after the year they flip the higher interest. So you have to like know what you're doing. And I was like, well, all right, then we are gonna finance this gym on MBNA credit cards and we're gonna go for it. And I remember my husband at the time was like, is this really a good idea? Like, what if we can't pay back this money in a year? I said, then we're gonna have to sell our house and we're just gonna have to go live in a basement apartment or at your mother's. That's just what we're gonna have to do.
Right.
And he was like, well, all right, then if you think we can do it, we can do it. And I was like, we can do it. So we took the credit and I'm telling you, I flipped that money between my line of credit and I never paid more than 2% interest on that money.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
But I marked my calendar. I paid attention to my payments. Like you have to know the risk you're taking, but then you have to do the work, right? Like if I just got lazy and forgot about my payments, well, for sure, I'm going to end up paying 30% interest on that money, right? Yes. But I was careful. I marked my calendar. I knew, okay, I can flip it to my line of credit. I can pay it off. Then they're going to offer me another discounted rate and I'll flip it back. And I did that for 7 years. I flipped that money until I paid it all off.
Back and forth.
Yeah. And I never paid more than 2% interest.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So
now, before you made that decision, were there any fears that crossed your mind? Like, was there a little voice kind of telling you like, oh my gosh, don't do this? Or were you just like bold in faith the entire time?
I mean, I had a few nights where I was like really thinking about it. Okay, so what is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is this business goes bankrupt. We owe all this money. The only way we can pay it off is to sell our home. And then I had to sit with that. Okay, are you really okay with that? Like, how would you feel if you had to sell your home and explain to your children that, okay, mommy and daddy are going to have to go rent an apartment?
Right. Right.
Yes, and we'll be okay. And there's enough equity in the house to cover those debts. So it's not like we'd still be in trouble, right? And I had a good job. I was also like working full time while I was
Okay.
helping my husband run this business. So I knew we would have enough income to eat, you know. And
Right.
and then I had to talk him into it though, because he was not as sure. He was like, I don't know, this feels so risky. And I was like, it is. It's super high risk. I'm not going to lie to you, but I really believe we can do it. And we did it.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. And
That's
so
such
I
a
mean,
great
although
example.
we're not together anymore, like he has the gym now, right? And that, and I try, and then so that was just to get the gym started. Then we made the leap to purchase the actual commercial building, which was another big risk, because you're taking on a gigantic mortgage, you're taking on a vendor take back loan. Like you have to know that your cash flow is going to be there, right? And but the opportunity of owning your own commercial building where you're operating is golden.
It's huge.
You will, once you pay that building off, or even once you establish a certain amount of equity in that building, it gives you leverage to take out loans to grow your business bigger. It allows you to use that space. Like we got smart because we were a kickboxing gym, so we were only using the gym mostly from 4 p.m. till about 10 p.m., right? And on weekends a little bit, but during the day that gym was sitting empty. And we didn't have the lights on or the heat on or anything like that. But we were like, you know what? We could be maximizing this space. So we started renting it out to personal trainers during the day.
Yep.
We actually, I had personal trainers covering the entire mortgage.
That's awesome.
So that everything we were
really
earning,
smart.
Yeah, through kickboxing, we were earning, like, that was just like icing for us. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how the business grew and grew and grew. And so it's really great. And although, I mean, we're not together anymore, but I'm so happy. I felt good knowing, okay, he's going to have this business. He's going to have in that commercial building. I mean, I'm still great. I'm running my own businesses and I also work and I have an amazing pension. So I'm not worried about my future. Right.
Right. Right.
And I feel so proud of what we were able to do with that.
Yeah. And I think it was so key what you said, like, yes, it was a huge risk in both situations, right? It was a huge risk to take the loans out to start the business, and then also a huge risk to go for the commercial space. But you mitigated the risk in a number of ways, right? First, you had a job pretty much the entire time, or at least up until when you got the commercial space, right?
No, yeah, I always worked, yeah.
Right. So you were always working. And then two, even when you got the commercial loan, it wasn't like day one that you're like, okay, let's get our commercial space. You waited 7 years before taking that leap. And so you were already established. It wasn't like, okay, this is our first year in business, let's go for it. You kind of knew what was going on, because I have so many designers come to me, oh, I want to own my own retail store. And I'm like, okay, let's start with baby steps. How about we start with your own fashion line, selling online, and once the business grows, then let's go to the retail store, right? Or let's sell to other retail stores first, and then let's open up your own retail store.
Yeah,
because
it's great.
So
I mean, it's great to have a bricks and mortar business. Like, I loved having a space. Like, it became a community kind of place too, right? Where all of our members would hang out. I mean, and we would have like amazing potluck events, and like there's nothing like it, right? To have your own space. But on the other hand, what comes along with that is all that added like burden of like, okay, it's Sunday night, kids, and we've got to go over and clean the gym now, you know, when really we all want to watch Netflix. But my kids have grown up around that, so they got used to it's a family business. We all go on Sunday night after dinner. We spend 2 hours, we clean the gym top to bottom. It's ready for the like wants to take on that responsibility.
Right.
And you have, I mean, he has now amazing staff people, and we did have a few staff people at that time. So, I mean, we could go on vacation, we could leave it for a week or two, but when you own an actual building, you know, you have to be present.
Oh yeah. And even like, let's say the fire alarm goes off in the middle of the night, right? You're running over there to make sure that everything's okay.
That's right. Or a water pipe breaks or whatever. So
exactly. Exactly.
But it is pretty cool when you own your own commercial building. And I always, like, I really believe in going with your gut feeling on things. So I remember, first of all, I feel like the opportunity just presented itself to us. So we were in the industrial complex where we were renting our gym. Suddenly our lease was coming up to be renewed. And our landlord, we knew he was next door. He wanted to use our space for extra storage. And just at that same time, this commercial building came up for sale, like 3 doors down.
Wow.
And it's a bigger standalone building. And nobody wanted to touch it because what had been in there was like this, I don't even know how to explain it. Like they made kind of like, you know, the granular stuff that goes in Comet cleaner, like the fine chalky particles.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So that's what it had been. So people were like, oh God, it's like chemical factory.
Chemicals.
But then we said, well, let's really do our research. So we brought in an environmental impact person. They assessed it. They were like, well, it's not carcinogenic and it can be cleaned. So we paid for that. And like everything just fell into place. Like suddenly a guy at our gym, his brother was like a guy who does that kind of environmental cleaning. Like how weird is that? You know?
Wow.
And so he was like, oh, I'll do it for you guys at cost. Like everything just, and I kept saying, okay, you know, I believe in a higher power. So I was like, okay, God, if this is not meant to be, then take it away from us. Like if it's something bad for us and our family, just take it away from us. I kept waiting. I'm like, well, something's going to happen. We're not going to get the commercial loan, or we're not going to, everything kept high this building, you know, and we did.
That's totally God. Yeah. I always say there's no such thing as a coincidence. It's a God incident. Like God ordains everything. And the fact that that building came up for sale just that time and all those things happened, it's totally
all those things.
God.
And we stayed in our same complex. So literally and I loved how we moved the gym. Literally all of our members showed up and we made like a chain and we moved that gym like just with people power from one location to the next. All the equipment, like all of our members, like hundreds of members showed up. But that's
you have some great members. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And because we had really built it like a community kind of place, right? Where people felt like they belonged and they were part of it. And so then when we just put the call out like, hey guys, we're moving down the block and we need help and we're not hiring a truck. We need people. Like literally like 100 people showed up.
Oh my gosh.
It was awesome.
That is such a great story. And
like it was one of the days of our life. Yeah. So many cool things can come out. I think the other thing I wanted to talk about with risk is like, you know, you have to look at there will always be like a financial benefit or a financial maybe loss, right? At times, like that's just business. You're up and down all the time. If you think you're going to go in a straight trajectory up, you're going to be really disappointed.
Not
right?
happening.
And you might get right? Not happening. It's like that picture. This is what I planned, and then this is what happened. Like it's like all over the place,
I have
right?
That picture. Yes.
Yeah, that picture is so good and it inspires me every day. So, but basically, don't think that the only thing you're going to benefit from your business will be the financial part. In fact, the things that have benefited me the most from being an entrepreneur has been the people I've met, right? The amazing ideas I've come across. I don't know, just like having a totally different worldview than a lot of my friends or a lot of people I work with at work. Like,
I agree. It's so true.
I can't even put a value on that. And like how much it's enriched my life. So when I then started this network of women business entrepreneurs, I did it because I was doing private consulting as an educational consultant for the last 3-4 years. And I was pretty lonely. Like it's very isolated kind of work and it's very niche market. So it's like, I'm talking to the same 20 people every week, all week. I was just like, oh my God, I need to talk to them. So, and I went to a couple of networking things and I wasn't happy with how they were run. And I was like, no, this is not my style. So I said, well, I'll just start my own. Why not?
Exactly.
You know, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't even really thinking of how I would monetize it. I was just like, I need a network. I'm going to start a network. And then now a year later, I have over 1,000 members, you know, in my online Facebook. And we do we do meetups as well. So it's just like a snowball. I don't know. Sometimes when you know you're doing the right thing, it just takes off. And then the benefits of that, like for me, I'm not making a whole lot of money off of that network. I'm making a little bit, right? Of money here and there. But like all these other opportunities have come my way, all these amazing people I've met. And then just like the inspiration, like I wake up and I talk to like 30 new women every week who are like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Like one of my members lives in Amsterdam. She's curating small, intimate concerts at Airbnb locations in Amsterdam. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I want to know her. I want to go to Amsterdam.
Yeah. I went to Amsterdam this summer. It's amazing.
Right?
Yes.
So to me, that's where, like, whenever you have to look at whatever it is you're putting together, don't just look at the dollars and cents. You know, look at that for sure. I mean, you're running a business, not a hobby. Make sure it's profitable, but at the same time, you know, look at what it's going to give you in your life as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a lot of other benefits besides just the financial side of things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Definitely. So good. Oh my gosh. Your story is so inspiring, Suzanne.
Yeah, I mean, so I admit, like, I am a bit of a risk taker. Like, I probably take on more risk than other people, but I always feel like it's very calculated. Like, I use my head and my heart, and then essentially it's like, can I sleep at night? If I can sleep at night with this decision, then I'm going to go for it. And sometimes it's like, even if I get a little niggly feeling like, oh, maybe it's going to fail. Oh, well, if it fails, can I live with that failure? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, then go for it. Do it.
Yeah. And a lot of times that failure helps you succeed in the long run. You can learn a lot from your failure.
Yeah, it might be the next step you have to take to get to the next success, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But a lot of people quit. Like they start something and then they're not happy with the results right away. The other thing I think as an entrepreneur, you just have to be super patient and like really stubborn. You just have to say like, okay, the snowball is this big right now, but if I keep rolling it in the snow, if I keep doing the work, like it will get bigger and it will eventually be the snowman or the fort or whatever it is I'm trying to build, you know? And some days it's going to get hot and it's going to melt and it's going to get a little smaller and then something's going to happen. It's going to snow a lot and then you're going to get a bigger snowball. So you just have to ride that wave. You have to get really comfortable with being a little bit in debt at times. Like I found that for us anyway. In business, we just had to get, until you can really establish your cash flow and have a reserve and all of that, you have to be okay with like, I'm going to dip into my line of credit until my cash flow comes back up, you know? Or if you know there's certain seasons where you're going to get paid more, like we always got paid more in September because people join gyms in September, people join gyms in January. So, you know, that's when people join a gym. June and July are going to be drier months. So you plan ahead. You know, and you think, all right, I still have to feed the kids in June and July. So when it really, I get a lot of money in January, I've got to put some stuff aside for when, you know, or I've got to diversify and think, what could I be offering in my down months that is unlike my competitors or will attract my, you know, like value added for my current clients.
Right. Or diversify your income streams, right? That's another thing that you did by renting out the space, right?
Yes.
So you might have one main business, the kickboxing gym in this example, right? But you might have other side businesses or things that are stemming off of that main business that you can also capitalize on. And I'm trying to always tell my clients and fashion designers that you need to diversify. Like you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket.
You totally need to. And even like say your main interest is in fashion, right? But then you're like, well, I'm not sure if my fashion business is like, I'm going to be able to sustain myself fully on that. Well, it's okay to Uber on the side too. Doesn't mean you're not successful. I think I really get over that idea like, oh gosh, are we even successful? Like I'm still teaching full time. Yeah, hella yeah. We were really successful and I was teaching full time, you know?
Right.
And
the word
get that out of your mind. Like I'm not a real entrepreneur because I still have a job. No, you are. You are an entrepreneur, whether you're doing like just a tiny little, like I do a tiny little side gig called Silver Icing right now, which I just do purely because I like the clothes and I have a 13-year-old daughter and she likes the clothes. And so I sell clothes like to a few of my friends. I make enough money to buy my daughter clothes and I get a little tiny paycheck and it's a little fun side gig, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm still an entrepreneur, you know?
Right.
So
Well,
I
and you're
think
teaching
people
your
have to
daughter.
get over. And I'm teaching my daughter. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would try to teach all of my kids. All my kids have seen us because they've grown up with us being like partially employed and partially entrepreneurs. So I think they have that mindset of like, it's not always good to just put all your eggs in any one basket. Even now we're in a different world, like telling kids to good educate, whatever, a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, or whatever, accountant for the rest of your life. It can be boring. Like I've been a teacher for 20 something odd years, right?
Wow, that's great.
I'm kind of hitting like a second life of it. But there was a time where I was like, I'm so bored of being a teacher, right? It can get really boring. You're doing the same thing for your whole life. That's why I love having my side businesses. That's why I love writing books. That's why I like having my network. And sometimes I know my mom's like, you're doing too many things. But I'm like, there is no such thing. If you're happy and you're enjoying all what you're doing, to me, there's no such thing. If it was stressing me, then I would quit something. But it doesn't.
And as long as
it feeds me, right?
Exactly. And as long as you can properly manage all the things, right? You're not dropping balls or not getting back to your clients or missing deadlines or, neglecting something in your life,
Right. And some people are not good. Some people are not good at multitasking. Like some people, for them, it's like, I just have to focus on this and that's all I do. And that's good. Like you have to know your personality. I can multitask till the cows come home. I actually do better when I'm multitasking. Like I'm more likely to forget you if I only have you to think about. But if I have 5 other things, like I will never forget what I have to do for you.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get what you mean.
People are just like that.
Yeah.
But if I only had to think about you, I might be like, oh, what was I supposed to do for her again? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just think it's personality drives allowing yourself too thin.
Okay.
For sure, there were times when my children were very young where I was like, oh my goodness, I'm working full time. I'm helping my husband all night at the gym. I'm exhausted. My kids are exhausted because I'm dragging them to the gym with me, right? And at those times you pull back and you say, okay, kids, we're not going tonight. We're staying home. We're eating dinner properly. And I text my husband and say, listen, I'm not coming in to work the front desk tonight. So you're just going to have to tell people to come back tomorrow, or you're just going to have to get somebody to fill in for me. Like one of the other coaches can step in and handle people, right? So you have to know your limits for sure, especially women. Like we tend to take it all on.
Yeah.
And we don't have to.
Yes. And we tend to neglect ourselves and put everyone else first, which is not good.
But I'm also, one of the things for me as a mom who was running all these businesses.
Well, awesome. Oh my gosh, Suzanne, I've enjoyed talking to you so much.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add? Any like further little last tidbits?
Well, just don't be afraid. If you're a woman entrepreneur and you have a family, like outsource. I outsourced everything. I used to have somebody to help me with the food, and that like I use Grocery Gateway, and do whatever it takes so that because your time as an entrepreneur, I can make more money in an hour than I can standing in line at the grocery store. Right. So always think like that and say, what is my time worth? Well, my time's worth this. Then I can pay somebody, $15-20 an hour to do this. Exactly. And then you stay sane and you feel good and you do what you're passionate about and what you're good at.
And what only you can do, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that can do very basic things, but only you can do certain things that you are designed to do.
Yes. And always have multiple income streams. And I think it's really important for women, especially, have some kind of a passive income stream. Get yourself some real estate, invest in something where there's some rental income coming in, and then you will rest easy as you get older and maybe you can't put in as many hours.
Right. Such good. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne. How can people get in touch with you? Let's talk about your Facebook group.
Yeah, Spark. So I'll leave the link if you want to join Spark. We would love to have people. We are an international group. There's a lot of us who are Canadian in it, but it is an international group. You can post your promotions there on Wednesdays and events locally. You can say like, I live in the Bay Area of, California, and my event is on Friday, blah, blah, blah. And then people in your area will know to go to your event. And then any other time during the week, you can do little Facebook intros to tell us just who you are and what your business is about without giving us a salesy pitch. And I do a Facebook Live interview where it is a paid interview, so that pays for my time to help you prepare. And I also offer a little bit of a business coaching that goes along with that in the group. And then we go live very much like this in my group, and we talk about you as a business person. And really the aim of my group is to get to know each other, build relationships. And that's how you will grow as a person, and you'll also make good referral connections, and you'll ultimately also get some clients.
Awesome. So everyone should go over, join the Spark group right now. I put the link in the description for you. Suzanne's awesome. Thank you so very much again for all your time tonight, Suzanne.
Thanks for having me
with you in the future. And just a couple more announcements for everybody. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll be doing another Facebook Live interview with Anne Ryan. She's an amazing business mentor and coach. She's going to discuss the missing link between mindset and success. So stay tuned for that. We also have our Fashion District Manufacturing Tour coming up November 29th. There are still a couple of tickets left for that. And don't forget about our free masterclass, The 14 Mistakes Designers Make and How to Avoid Them. There's a link for that as well. So thanks, everyone, so much for joining in. I'll see you in 2 weeks on our next Facebook Live. Good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.